Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. We don't need to take roll call, right, because we're all present in person, right? So let's all rise for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everyone. It's a nice night, right? This is nice. We haven't had this for a while, right? It's beautiful. So thanks for all being here. The first thing we have, and I'm guessing we have some homeowners association visitors here. So Denise Steinman from Beaver Creek. Do you have anything for the board?
No, not really. Thank you for taking time. I just thought it'd be interesting to come to a board meeting. I was invited. I didn't think I would be able to come, but my day opened up. So I called Greg and said, do you have room? And he said, yes, so I'm here.
All right, well, welcome. Thanks for being here. Yeah, let's move on then to Glenstone. Anyone from Glenstone here? Okay, I take that as not. Time for public comment. Any public comment? No public comment. All right. All right. There's no public safety report. Lieutenant Kaiser's not here, right? That's correct. All right. We now have before us consent agenda. There's several items on it. It's consideration approval of the March Treasurer's Report, consideration approval of the executive session meeting minutes from April 11th, consideration approval of the meeting minutes from also April 11th, and then consideration of resolution regarding a joint review board for the TIF and the appointment of two folks to run those TIF review meetings, one for the South Gateway TIF and one for the downtown TIF. So any questions? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Trustee O'Connor, seconded by Trustee Tanucci. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Connor. Aye. Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor. Aye. Trustee Shaw. Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is, and I don't think Sherry's here. If she is, she's going to.
She chose not to be.
Yes, I know, and I told her we were going to recognize her anyway. So Sherry Schlagman is retiring after 18 years of service with the village. So in recognition, there is a resolution, an honorary resolution that was written by Greg. Thank you, Greg, for doing that. And I'm going to go ahead and read that out loud, if I might. Whereas Sherry Schlagman, let me start at the beginning. This is a resolution honoring Sherry Schlagman on her retirement and service to the village of Long Grove. Whereas Sherry Schlagman has been an employee of the village of Long Grove since 2004 and has most recently served as its administrative services coordinator. And whereas on April 28, 2023, Sherry Schlagman will retire after more than 18 years of outstanding and dedicated service to this community. And whereas through the past almost 2 decades, several village board election cycles and various staff changes, Sherry has been a constant. And whereas it didn't matter if the village president or village manager, Sherry Schlagman has been known as the go-to person by residents, business owners, because of the depth of her institutional knowledge. And whereas government is not always seen as a positive light, Sherry Schlagman has been our positive light, known for her quick smile, kind words, and infectious laugh. And whereas Sherry Schlagman has decided that her next adventure will focus on family, friends, and her beloved puppy, Bailey, we want her to know that with a tear of sadness and a tear of joy, Long Grove will miss her and all the contributions to our village. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Long Grove Village Board, do hereby extend to Sherry Schlagman our sincere and grateful appreciation for her dedicated service to the village and its 8,366 residents, our congratulations on her well-earned retirement and our best wishes for happiness in the years to come. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Sherry Schlagman on her last day of service to the village, past this day, the 27th day of April, 2023. I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, moved by trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by trustee Micho. Roll call, please.
Trustee Kritzmeyer. Aye. Trustee Micho.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor. Aye. Trustee Panucci.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, thank you for that.
If we say nay, will she change her mind?
Yeah, we tried that.
Good shot.
There'll be cake or something, right?
Yeah.
She will be missed.
She will be missed.
Absolutely.
You know, and
Without cake, it's just a meeting.
so, and I'm also gonna go out of turn here too, if you'll allow me. So we have something else happening tonight. This is trustee Micho's last night.
So sad.
Yeah, so, Chris is here. Okay, got it. Chris, you're here. Hey,
I move that we allow Chris to join.
Second.
okay, yeah, so that motion is carried. Now, Chris, can we go back and can you officially approve the resolution honoring Sherry Schlagman? I need an aye.
He needs to be let in.
All right, so, well, a motion to let Chris Browski attend
We have a
remote.
motion, so we need to vote.
So, go ahead.
Yes. Wait, do we have a second?
So, yeah, Chris Meyer and
Trustee
Micho.
Kritzmeyer. Aye. Trustee Micho.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Trustee Panucci.
Aye.
Okay, and then, Chris, will you approve the honorary
Yes.
resolution for Sherry Schlagman?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm going to bring this up, and since this is Jenny's last night in the board, and I just wanted to thank you and recognize you for your service as well, right? You know, you were appointed back in November of 2019, and then you ran, you know, because we had a trustee that left, and then you ran for the remainder of his unexpired term for 2 years, right? So about 3.5 years. You led the EDC, something that was out of your comfort zone, and you did a phenomenal job at it.
Let it right out to extinction.
And, but one of your notable accomplishments was the establishment of this new invasive species grant program, right, to eradicate invasive species. And that was a lot of work. And so we're looking to see how that's going to play out. And so I just wanted to say thank you. And then we've Sherry, you know, you got to love Sherry. And I don't think I can get up. Can you help us? And we need to present you with a gift. And Sherry, I don't know if you know this, but Sherry is the one that always picks these things out, and she does a phenomenal job, and she knows this all so well. So she got this clock for you to remember.
Doesn't that look like you?
I want to
In a good, I mean,
present this to you. And,
not like you, but you know.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
and congratulations.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I have loved mostly being on this board. I've learned so much, and I really love getting to know all of you, and I am a little bit sad. I thought I was gonna be really excited and celebrating, but now that it's my last meeting, I'm a little bit more.
It's too late to turn back
I
now.
know. Well, you know, there's gonna be another election coming up in 2 years, and I changed my mind, and I missed you too much, so.
You have made a big difference. I know you really didn't think you were going to in your quiet way, but you really have. You've been thoughtful and additive in ways that really complement everybody here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss your input.
All right. All right, I'll keep us moving. Thank you again for your service, and I am going to miss you, so. All right, so we have the village planners report. Taylor, you're online. Are you going to take this remotely?
Yes, good evening. I can take this remotely.
All right, well,
First off-
you're up. Please give us an update.
Yes, thank you. First off, I wanted to take this chance to thank you, President Jacob, and the entire village board there for the opportunity to continue to work with the village of Long Grove. On behalf of the entire Mundelein staff, we look forward to the year and time to work ahead with you guys. So, but we have the planner's report attached to the meeting packet tonight. I'll just be brief and go through some of the major items here. We had a Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals meeting on April 4th. The main topic there was the Royal Melbourne proposal for pickleball courts, platform tennis courts, and a tennis lounge. That item, I believe, is on the agenda later on tonight. That was a recommendation for approval was made and passed by the Plan Commission that evening on April 4th. Then we had the
That's
Architectural Commission. Yes.
I would say it's immediately following your report, so.
There we go. Then we had the Architectural Commission on April 17th. There are a number of items on that agenda. The first being 340 Old McHenry Road was Brothers Field. They had already considered this matter. That was in my last planner's report as well. But there was no update from the Brothers Field team to provide to the Architectural Commission. So they postponed that matter until their next meeting in May. Blue Fig Cafe is at 225 Robert Parker Coffin Road. They're replacing the existing cafe that was there. But they had a signage proposal, 2 signs that were recommended for approval by the Architectural Commission. Then we had 3 real estate signs at the Oman Greenhouse property, Valley Bunyan property, and there's 2 parcels east of their residential property that were all collectively to be brokered under the same agents there through CBRE. Those were approved or recommended for approval by the Architectural Commission. And then lastly, at that meeting, there was 350 Old McHenry Road, a replacement of a staircase at the back side of the property there. It needed Architectural Commission review because it was not a kind-for-kind replacement. The old staircase was not code compliant. It was very steep. It really wasn't built to code in any capacity. And so the new staircases are built to code. There's a jog to the stairs, a 90-degree turn, and a mid-landing there. So that's the reason it went to the Architectural Commission, and they gave it a recommendation for approval there. The PCZBA meeting April 18th was canceled for lack of agenda items. We do have an upcoming PCZBA meeting this next Tuesday on May 2nd. There's 2 items on the agenda for that meeting. The first is 3305 Old McHenry Road. A detached garage is proposed at a location on the property that is that requires a side yard setback variation. So it's proposed to be 5 feet from the southern property line when a 50-foot side yard setbacks required in that district. And then secondly on the agenda is 235 Robert Parker Coffin Road, Joni's Pizzeria. This topic may be familiar because it was initially proposed last year for an expansion to their outdoor dining area. That packet of information for this PCZBA meeting was just published today, so that the petitioner's applications are available in that packet of information on the village website. And then lastly, we have an Architectural Commission coming up in May 15th. There's 2 items on the agenda for that. The first being Olson Storage. This was proposed for 2798 Illinois Route 83. This is a topic that staff have been working with the applicants for a long time here. They've already appeared before the Architectural Commission. That body gave them some valuable feedback, and it just took a little while for them to make the tweaks to the plans. And they have those updated plans and renderings for the Architectural Commission's consideration. And then secondly on the agenda, there is again 340 Old McHenry Road, the Brothers Field project, if they have updated plans for the board or the Architectural Commission to consider. But that concludes my planner's report.
We received some feedback on the Joni's Pizzeria for the upcoming meeting, and that's gone to him already?
Yes.
Cool.
Any,
Storage, is that the one across from Menards?
yes, yeah.
Okay, so that
Yes.
should say 53.
I'm sorry, yes, that would be a typo.
Any other questions on the report? No? I guess you were very thorough, Taylor,
All right, glad to hear it. Thank you all.
so thank you.
Oh, wait,
I
got one.
just a clarification.
Uh-oh.
Just a clarification question. I think it's 3305 Old McHenry. Did you say the setback is 50 and they're asking to be within 5 feet of the lot line?
Mostly
so that's
correct,
the
not
other-
within 5 feet, but they are proposing a setback there of 5 feet, yes.
Meeting.
Oh, next week, okay,
We're not voting on it.
okay,
Yep, no, it's going to the Plan Commission, right,
okay.
filing process. Anything else?
Nope, thank you.
All right, so now I'm gonna ask Vic, these next two items, unless somebody objects, can we vote on them together?
We can, if there's a motion to approve them both together.
So this is, go ahead.
I did have one question, because we were provided, let me say this, I'm in favor, but we were provided no maps about, like, help me understand the whole idea about, relief sought as part of setbacks and more flexibility. Can somebody describe that in English, please?
Yes, if you go through those plans, and they're a hefty
I didn't
set.
see the plans, they weren't provided to us.
Were they not?
No, I don't remember seeing them.
Okay, well, that makes it harder.
But what I did do,
Exactly.
what I did do though,
Hence my question.
I went to their website and they had this great video that laid out what it looked like. And so that's in my mind, it looks
Okay.
awesome. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that video.
I did not.
Yeah, and I don't know how I found it, I just stumbled across it. I go, I wonder,
You get the extra credit, that's great. No, but, yeah, so, like, I saw, we've received correspondence that's very much in favor. The whole idea sounds very valid and I'm inclined favorable, but the whole idea about, like, setbacks and stuff, we were provided no diagrams to kind of understand old, new, whatever.
The materials were available to the Plan Commission.
Am I the only one who was wondering about
No,
that?
I was as well, so. I see the video online.
you see it?
I can,
Well,
I don't know.
how long is it, Bill? Should we play it?
It's not very long, let's see if I
I
can,
can send you the plans, if that will help, and then maybe you could put them on the screen.
if you want, you can do that too.
Pardon?
They are available on the April 4th Plan Commission agenda packet, which is on the website.
I think it's, where did you,
If you go to the website and then you go down and it says,
take a tour?
like, you are the different, right there, go down, where's the share, like, renovation project, view the plan.
Yeah, so this,
Yeah, that's it,
is it?
yeah, you can see the pickleball court.
Oh, okay, but they have a nice, beautiful video too, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm watching now.
So where'd you find the video?
My website was different, and there was a little link. This is royalmelbourne.net, and then under membership, there was a 2024 renovation project.
No.
Yeah, go down, right there, to your left,
Oh, yeah, second from the bottom in the left column.
Second from the bottom, where am
all
I?
the way over to the left.
Holy cow,
Right there.
pages.
Well, so, this,
Go down, there's the video.
yeah, is there sound with it, or, yeah, I guess there is, but we don't really need the sound. No, I don't think so. Can you see this?
I'm watching.
Probably more fun with music, though.
Just imagine music.
Does this want to make you join? There you go. I'm imagining you're all from Royal Melbourne, right? In support of.
Sitting there inside watching everybody else play.
Well, they have a coffee shop and stuff. Nice, yeah.
And where is this on the property?
Good, question. Can anyone describe where exactly?
Yes, if you think about where the existing pool is,
Yeah.
you drive in and it's going to be to the west of the drive.
Mm-hmm.
The platform tennis courts are going to be due west of the, existing pool, south of the tennis courts that are there.
Okay,
And there is going to be a paddle hut that will also be, in that same vicinity. So it's pool, paddle hut, and then the paddle courts
gotcha.
to the west.
And what was
The-
there previously?
It's just open right now.
Okay,
And then the pickleball courts are actually north of that, toward the road. And the pickleball courts, because of the size of the property, we have a very large setback, and the pickleball courts, I believe, are going to be 27 feet at their very closest to the road, and that's within the prescribed setback. Now, we generally allow for planned developments to vary the setbacks, but the front setback in this instance isn't currently authorized for this location to be varied by more than 20%.
So this one's an odyssey in some ways. It didn't
So,
get the flexibility it should have.
Correct. And so the text amendment is designed to give the opportunity for a greater than 20% reduction in setback.
I read that.
And that is what the text amendment does. And then the special use permit, the PUD amendment, is what actually approves the plans that show it to be the 27 feet minimum.
Okay.
What's the closest house to the pickleball court?
There are some across the street, so it's going to be the 27 feet, the street, and then their setback, and then that home. I don't know, I don't think that we had a specific measurement, appearing on the plans, but, you know, it's multiple setbacks that come into play.
And I would assume, because all residents probably are members, right, that they would have to be supportive of this, or they would have voiced their concern already.
Just my dad has a pickleball court across the street from him,
Yeah.
and you can hear it through the house, you know, a well-insulated house, because it's a definite sound. So as long as the people that are gonna be closest to it don't have a problem with it, but it is a different sound than a tennis ball.
They're all gonna be members of the club, so they'll have their voice.
There were any comments we received, both the planning department and my office, they were all favorable.
All the ones
And
I
there
saw were
was
favorable.
gonna be some screening put in, like some sound.
Right, if you look at the, major amendment ordinance, there is a band of trees and other vegetation that still has to be developed and approved.
Okay.
But the notion for that is that it will have both, visual and, oral impacts, or I should say mitigating impacts on the effects of the paddle, or the pickleball courts.
That would be my only concern, but, so as long as everyone's.
I think it's kind of entertaining that, you know, Fred Phillips is a giant pickleball fan.
Oh, I did not know that.
He had his driveway recreated into a pickleball court during COVID.
That's how I hurt my knee.
Fred's driveway?
No, I hurt my knee playing pickleball.
Oh, pickleball, okay, got it.
Yeah, I would move that we approve 11 and 12.
Second.
Okay, so, moved by trustee Kritzmeyer, second by trustee Micho. Is there any other comment on here before we take a vote? All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Chris. Aye. Trustee Micho. Aye. Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Trustee Sanucci.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, thank you.
Well, for everyone.
So Fred Phillips is the prior, head of the plan commission. And yeah, he had his driveway repaved into a pickleball court during COVID.
Shelley Rubin, pickleball.
Well-
See?
Well, thanks for being here, so, appreciate it.
How soon will it be built?
I think next year.
Probably towards the end, it's on the pickleball side, probably towards the end of June, and then on the paddle side, towards the end of the year.
Okay.
All right, well, we're gonna keep ourselves moving then.
Come out and visit, Chris.
The next item on the agenda is the village engineers report, presented by engineer Perry.
Okay, so the engineer's report is in the board packet, there's, quite a few, updates on here, I wanna just kind of go through, some of the highlights here. First, the bridge, you know, a couple of weeks ago, one of the columns, the timber was, damaged, and that got replaced last week. Jumping down, Aptekissick Road, this is number 10 and 11, get some additional information from the Lake County Division of Transportation, yesterday. And Andy had been on vacation last week, but, wanted to report that, this is the project to widen Aptekissick Road from 83 to Buffalo Grove Road to, 2 lanes in each direction and intermittent turn lanes. The, Lake County Division of Transportation did the project, and they're working through awarding this to, Lake County Grading as the contractor, $12.3 million project. And, as reported, previously, this is, going to be an 18-month project, from the time that Lake County Grading starts. I say that because there's currently work going on Aptekissick Road, in two fashions. One, the sewer lining for Lake Zurich is still ongoing, but also the public utility relocations, ComEd, Nicor, those types of companies are doing their relocation in advance of Lake County Grading, getting out there. Lake County Grading is looking, to start, at the end of June, primarily due to the county's, procurement schedule of approving the contract and issuing that to them. Long Grove will be invited to the pre-construction meeting, date to be determined. Just to, remember the project, this is, the county is going to put an 8-foot multi-use path on the north side of Aptekissick Road and a 5-foot, sidewalk on the south side. So that'll be, a lot of connectivity,
And the fire department have they moved ahead with the property north of Aptekissick?
They're in negotiations with the property owner now. I talked to Chief
Okay.
Sedala this morning.
We had talked about water also, how does that sequence?
So, those were some discussions that, had with Manager Jackson is, to move forward with the water, it's gonna have to go on an accelerated, time schedule because it'll be a lot easier to put a water main across that road before, they get it done. They do the road and the water, you gotta bore under it, because the county's not gonna let you, tear up their new road for various reasons. So, as soon as, the fire department, concludes their negotiations, I wanna move forward with that.
Is it in our best interest to think about might we do that in advance anyway? Is that a stupid use of money?
Well, so one of the other opportunities of that is taking water and serving Briarcrest.
Right.
Another idea, out there is, the pipe under Aptekissick Road will go in what's called a carrier pipe. It's a larger steel pipe that you push the water main pipe through. So, hopefully you can do the whole project before Lake County starts, but at a minimum, if you put that carrier pipe in, that makes it easier to put a water main through it, after the county's done. So that could be another discussion as well. That way you're not kind of committing yourself to it, but yet you're, minimizing the costs for when you do it, should the county project.
I would call it buying an option.
Correct.
When would that decision be needed?
18-month project for Lake County Grading. I think the, village would want water main or the carrier pipe in probably by the end of this year. So decisions, from the fire department is maybe a couple months, but that's probably about the max.
So our decision should be ideally by July 4th?
Independence Day, I like it.
Okay.
Yes.
So what would the cost be to put that container in underneath the road to make this happen? Do you have any idea, estimates?
I didn't look, less than $50,000.
Oh, okay.
The whole project, when we talked about running it across there, is $350,000 is what, we placed that in the budget. If the budget's approved tonight, we have money allocated coming from the general fund to water distribution, and then water distribution getting a reimbursement from the fire department,
So we put
or
that
the
in,
general fund, I should
because
say.
that was the capital improvement, so we put that in there, we're advancing our agenda, but we put that in there, so regardless, we could move forward with that carrier pipe option. That would be both Briarcrest and fire department, and anything else that showed up,
And-
whatever.
Bridlewood, Eastgate, and those are all potential locations.
Okay. Sorry,
No.
Well, no, it's good, it was a good thought, and then the other thing is, we're still, what happens with the grant that's gonna be awarded, right? So, it's still up in the air.
the appropriation, we should know something about in the coming months, but October is when the new federal budget goes through, and all indications from everybody I've talked to is that we're in pretty good shape.
So we invite them to festivals.
Okay, so that was the, Lake County Division of Transportation, just dropped it down to numbers, 12 and 13.
I just want to interject. I had reached out to LC regarding meetings with the subdivisions, so they could, kind of give them a time frame, and they said they don't do those, but they would do it as, I guess, individually if we wanted to get them. So I'll reach out to the HOA presidents and ask if they want to have a meeting with LDOT about the process.
You're talking about the Route 22 widening?
No, after Kissick.
Oh, after Kissick, okay.
Or Briarwood and Eastgate.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, there's three, I was trying to remember the other one.
If it goes to Eastgate, why wouldn't it include the properties in Arlington Heights?
The water hookup, it's the water hookup. We're allowing the pipe for the water hookup. Not saying that it can't.
Yeah, well, Eastgate's on the other side of the road, so that would, what we're saying is we're trying to get the pipe, to the other side of the road.
Right,
So
right.
wouldn't really, Eastgate wouldn't be impacted by it.
Well,
Yeah,
to put the sleeve in.
right, to put the sleeve in, yeah.
But the road work on Aptekissick will affect all three.
Yep.
Right.
If you want to come up the road,
No,
Just
we're just
the
talking
road
the
happening.
actual Lake County DOT
Construction.
project.
Hey,
to
your
widen the
life
road.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, life is already painted, they're out there before 7 AM.
Yep.
So-
No, I experience it when I go down that way, so, yeah. But I don't live there, so I understand. Not fun.
I thought I'd avoid 22 and Stevenson traffic the other day. Bad idea.
I'm glad I didn't do that this morning. I left late, so, yeah.
Okay, switching to the, Illinois DOT. I'm Bill from 13, this is, Route 22. Just kind of an update on the Route 22 widening project. Last fall, the state had, let us know that the pre-final plans would be ready in the spring. They're not, looking, fall at this point. And then we asked them about, the status of the land acquisitions, along the corridor. So they're still in discussion with, the Forest Preserve and two parcels that they have not reached an agreement. I don't know which two parcels they are, but I did also find out that 14 of their temporary construction easements are expiring at the end of June, and they need to get those for another 5 years. And then, here in the coming weeks, Village and IDOT, will try to arrange, re-engaging the landscaping enhancement discussions, that, kind of hot and heavy a couple years ago, kind of didn't move forward, but now, with the project, in the multi-year plan, the resolution on those items as well.
So there's an agreement that they presented to us, that we're not ready to sign, right? Correct?
Correct.
Needs a little bit of work.
Yes.
Okay, and when
That
that's
was the
not,
one that we talked about, IDA from
right,
last year.
the one that I said to put on the agenda, then I looked at it and got concerned, right? So, they're not, they made it sound like it was really urgent. Is it really urgent?
Everything that I've heard about the Route 22 widening project is it's still unfunded.
Right.
So, even though it's in the multi-year plan, I think they still want it to be urgent so that they've got it ready should, funding become available, whether it be from the state or whatever. I think that's their goal on this. So, is it, urgent like way out here? Probably not, but is it something to keep moving forward? 'Cause
Yeah.
obviously, the village, supports the project. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, if it's a couple of meetings from now that you get it all sorted,
Yep.
we'll be fine. That's all I'm asking.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
We had also talked about involving the Scenic Corridor Committee residents, as far as recommending, because they told us we could choose flora and fauna, on either side of the road. And I'm wondering if it wouldn't be, if if it wouldn't be a bad idea to have the scenic corridor folks before they leave the village, because they're getting older. And they had talked about recommending plants that they knew would withstand salt, you know, and plowing and all that kind of stuff, that, to have it ready couldn't hurt. I think Jim was, I think, having meetings with them, and I don't know where it ended up. Jim Hogue.
Yeah, and I know that he had those discussions, I recall that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just bringing everything back together after it's kind of got a little dust on it the last couple of years.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, number 13 was the, intersection improvements, 22 and 83. I got, kicked, this project off a couple of years ago with a, feasibility study, and, we don't have the graphic, I know, but the scope of this project is extending turn lanes to, improve, you know, flow through the intersection, and then, westbound 22, the right turn to go north on 83, that's gonna become a free flow right turn lane. So, you don't have to stop for that.
That long ago, they did that intersection.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I go through there every day. It's just, the turn lanes need to be longer because you miss the light cycle.
So, 10 days ago, Manager Jackson and myself met with IDOT virtually, and they gave us the update that they're, going through the, phase one engineering feasibility study process. They anticipate having that complete this fall, and they'll, go right into the design engineering after that. As part of the feasibility study, the phase one that they're doing right now, they will, identify the land acquisitions, for the project. They haven't identified those yet. The corridor's tight, and have some impact to, you know, any of the four corners, really. So more on that as they move through.
And
that.
I appreciate IDOT recording it so that I was able to listen to it later. Did you, have a chance to do that?
No, but I will this weekend.
Yeah, take a listen to it, so, because we couldn't make it, so I'm glad they
Yeah.
recorded it, so,
Mhm.
thank you.
Really helpful. And then just unlike, the actual Route 22 widening project, this one is in the state's multi-year plan, and it does have funding. Construction of this one, you know, once they get through the design engineering and the land acquisition, they'll be ready to go, but land acquisition, it's always, somewhat of a wild card, how long, you know, those negotiations take, you know, and once the scope of that is known, you know, timelines can be kind of established. Okay, other than that, there's a few other highlights here. The Towner subdivision, separate item next. Cobblestone drainage, we talked about this, at the last board meeting. There's a depression in the backyard of 6609 Cobblestone. It was designed to be that way, and this property abuts Hawthorne Woods. Hawthorne Woods, about 15 years ago, they installed a 6-inch, you know, I would say it was a drain tile to help drain that, low area. And about 10 days ago, Hawthorne Woods was out there, and they, cleaned that pipe to make sure that it was actually flowing to its capacity. Once they did that, there was some immediate relief to the residents, and as for the ducks, they've got to find another place to go. But, that's a short-term, solution on that one, because it's a 6-inch, pipe. We're still looking through the subdivision plans and land rights and things like that to figure out what the long-term solution of this is. With the subdivision, that low area was supposed to just drain north through the adjacent lot, and that is no longer the case. How, why, when that happened is, somewhat of a mystery, but it happened a long time ago, so we're just trying to, peel that back just a little bit and see if there's any other options other than, you know, knocking on the guy's door, hey, you've got a drainage easement in here, almost ditch in your backyard again. So, we're still having discussions with that, meaning, Manager Jackson and myself. So, once we, formulate, some more thoughts on that, bring that one to the board as well.
gonna say about 17B?
17B, yes. 17B, yes. Okay, so over at Poles Nursery, this is, 6754. This kind of Stormwater Management Commission, ironically also about 10 days ago, or 5 weeks ago, I guess, is this one. They noticed that Poles Landscaping was, doing some work in the northwest corner of their property, and there's a mass wetland up there. And it was quite clear that the grading operations that they were doing was pushing dirt, soil into the wetland buffer and almost the wetland itself. I've been in contact with Alan. He is part owner of Poles, and he's certainly sympathetic to cleaning up this violation. So he just needs a little bit of direction on what exactly he needs to do. So we're organizing and arranging a meeting to get out there, kind of document exactly where the wetland is, and you guys stay 30 feet from it, and we'll go from there.
Do you know how it happened? What were they doing?
I don't know exactly what it is, but if you go through recent aerials over the last 5 years, it's not something that just happened recently. It's been ongoing for a while.
Sounds like they didn't know there was a wetland.
I think they know that there's a wetland, but, you know, you gotta protect the buffer.
Didn't know where it was.
Right.
Got it.
So sometimes, you know, the wetland is perceived as actual water, which is not the case. A wetland is a lot more than just water.
Were they planting trees or something there, or?
No, they were just putting dirt in there that was excess materials, what Alan had told me.
Oh, they were just dumping stuff.
They pull it back, that'll be the solution on that, and like I said, Alan is willing to do that, which is great. Other than that, a lot of different permit updates, I won't go through those, but, if there's any questions, happy to, take them.
Nice to see you shortening.
Yeah, we kind of covered the list of the permit.
Right, yeah, thank you.
Any questions? Chris, you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's keep us moving then. Nobody's speaking up here. So this is the discussion of engineers' review and recommendations, or recommended options for town or subdivision stormwater issue. Want me to show anything, or? Go ahead.
Vic, do you want to start with it?
I really wanna be here.
Do you need to get up? Go ahead. Yeah. Just a quick intermission.
No, I don't wanna defer this.
Do you want me to show anything yet, or just wait for you? Or?
Well, I guess in terms of just historical background, the town of Subdivision predates the village. And it was originally subdivided in the county at a time when the county subdivision regulations had few particular regulations about drainage. It just wasn't a matter of great concern in the 1950s. And based on the review of the plat, there are no easements located within the property for drainage. I guess there's one, but it's unimpactful as to the concerns. And so this is an area that, as Jeff can get into more and as his memorandum set out, is largely served by drain tiles that have probably been in place for, well over 70 years. And so not surprising, as development around the subdivision has occurred, there has been some effects on the drainage, both because of lack of percolation in the soil as well as additional runoff. And so that's what we are experiencing there. Importantly, in terms of the village itself, none of this is the village's. The village has the road and the roadside ditch, which is intended to take the water from the road, which by all accounts it seems to be doing. But the rest of the subdivision and the drainage issues that they have been experiencing are neither within the village's, responsibility or control, at this particular juncture. The situation has been reviewed by Gaywalt Hamilton, and Jeff's memo identified some things that could be done, and some of them have pretty impressive price tags. You know, both the cost of those and the responsibility for implementing those are things that, at present, are not within the village's bailiwick. So, that's kind of an overview from where are we, structurally. I think that Jeff can certainly talk more about some of the particulars on the drainage, and then that might be a point at which the board may want to have a conversation.
For Ann?
I would shout, but I don't think that would be correct. There she is.
I'm listening.
Okay, good. You didn't leave the door open, did you?
No,
Just forget that.
I did on my way out.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, so, if you wanna pull up the memo, okay, so a memo was, issued earlier this morning, summarizing kind of the drainage and, some of the things that, Nick just mentioned, but I just wanted to kind of walk through that. It's, you know, there's a lot of granular material for the drainage and counters. I think this was, hopefully, a little bit, between the 30,000 foot and the too granular here.
What do you want me to show?
So, all right, if you wanna run down to kind of just the first, map on, page 2 here. Okay.
Chris, do you have this at home, or do you want me to try to share it, or?
Well, sharing it would be more helpful, but
All right.
if it's a
Let
problem,
me,
it's fine too.
No, it's not a problem at all. Let me get back to,
And it's item number 14A in the agenda packet, if you have access to that, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
let me go back to where's my Zoom screen? Full screen, hold on a second. Let me do, share screen. This. All right, can you, see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect, hold on.
So I'm not gonna go through the history, Vicki did a great job on that. So drainage in the Counter subdivision is generally west to east and then north to south. So this exhibit here has just kind of the roads and just the aerial topography from 2017 that the county has made available for the public. And it just kind of shows some drainage routes. The drainage shows under Willow Spring Road from the left. There's some areas in Mundelein over by Diamond Lake School that flow into the subdivision. And then it flows down meaning southeast on Osage Road. And then it turns and goes northeast, and there's actually a blue arrow, right where your cursor is, into the side yard of 7054 and 7056. Osage Road.
Can I clarify my understanding? When you say it generally goes north to south, except for within that whole triangle on the south side of Osage, like that triangle, there's a lot of high road that seems to go northeast.
Because there's a swale that goes south that is often overwhelmed. A couple weeks ago, was it? We got that big rainstorm and the whole area was underwater. And I'll show the drain tile study that we did back in 2019.
Yeah, stop me if I'm wrong or going ahead of you, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Supposed to go south.
It's supposed to go south, but when you look at the topo, it looks like, and the high point, it looks like it's kind of, on the south side of Osage, it would go northeast.
Yeah, so tell me where you're pointing, because I got, the direction here, I get confused as all heck.
So if you go,
Because it's a diagonal.
if you go above, where it says roadway high point, if you go above that text box, right
Oh,
there.
I was way down,
Okay.
area.
So that area, inside that
Okay.
triangle is high.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, all right, okay, so.
Just the
drainage
road.
generally goes south and east, okay, and I labeled the road high points, intentionally, because Osage Road is a high spot right there, so the drainage, is going south and east from Willow Spring Road, but due to that high point, it can't continue to go down that way to the Y intersection of Osage and Meadow Lane.
Yeah.
So there's a road crossing culvert that takes water under Osage Road and directs it into the side yard of 7054 and 7056. 7054 Osage is on the, what's called the easterly side of that drainage arrow right there. And that's the property owned by Joe Tudor, and he was at the last board meeting, just as a reference on that. And then once the stormwater runoff gets into the rear yard, it just kind of flows overland, south and east. And eventually it kind of curves and gets back to Osage Road, in front of 7040 and 7044. Okay? So water kind of, gets to the rear yard, over the river through the woods, pun intended, and then gets back to Osage. Okay? But it's doing that because of the high spot in the road. Okay, so, go to the next picture down, just wanted to, I threw a picture in here, there's an 18-inch culvert going under Osage Road, and then, go to the next.
Yeah, the only thing I want to say here is when it rains heavy,
Yeah,
we were out in your yard, this becomes a lake, it's unbelievable, how much it floods here between these two houses, and it
Yep.
seeps into their basements, it's bad.
Mm-hmm. I was up there Sunday.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, yep.
so just kind of, okay, so that's just a close-up, where is the culvert, where's the drainage, there's 7054, there's 7056. So the village has been, contacted, regarding the drainage in Towers several times over the years. Something that's new, it's been around for a while, and, as Vic mentioned, historically, there's drain tiles in the subdivision. In 2019, the village was contacted by the owner of 7040, which is down by that, Y intersection, Meadow Lane and Osage. About poor drainage there. Associated with that is water coming from the Baymont Hotel, what's going on. And the village contracted with American Underground, was the name of the contractor, to investigate the drain tile. If you want to scroll down, I think it's the next page, nope, keep going. Okay, so this is in a report from 2019, 2020, but, investigated the drain tile, and there's multiple places where the, drain tile has failed that, American Underground found, and they also put a chemically inert dye in the stormwater structure behind the Baymont Hotel, and there was multiple locations where this dye just came up to the surface, indicating additional places where the drain tile, has failed for whatever reason of collapse.
Even when it says creek.
Creek, there's, creek might be a little bit of a strong word there, but it's a well-defined drain path there that's got water in it almost all the time.
Okay, thank you.
What? Yeah,
In
that's,
2019, ditch, yes.
well, that's another story, yes.
But
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
that,
you know what I'm talking about.
that came about when the car wash was proposed. And the residents were here at a meeting, and that's when we first were told that they thought the water was coming from the hotel, over the ledge and down the hill. But that's why we did that 4 years ago.
There was a violation at the hotel as well, but the.
Right, yeah.
But as part of the 2019 study, American Underground was not able to determine where that drain tile outlet is. So it was a very it was a useful study to confirm there was drain tiles there, useful from the standpoint that, you know, there's drain tiles that are old and failed, but, you know, it didn't, you know, fully map where the drain tiles start, where they end, okay? And I bring that up, I wanted to include that, because in speaking with, Mr. Tudor, and being out on his property, there is a drain tile that extends further up towards his property from here. Much like if you can remember, like Martin Estates and Martin Woods, you know, they've got a lot of drain tiles back there, and the village 15 years ago did the first drain tile evaluation because, at the time, those subdivisions were built, towners as well. You know, drain tiles were used as drainage systems, but they weren't mapped or studied or evaluated for suitability to connect to. Current watershed development ordinance regulations, you gotta map them before you even start, so that way you know what these are, but, kind of playing catch up, if you will, with the towners, subdivision. Just kind of, other history, Lake County Stormwater Management Commission, took a look at this, back in 2019 as well. It was a large puzzle with, overflow routes designed prior to the watershed development ordinance, and, you know, no one development is responsible for, you know, how the land got developed.
Is that like words of saying this?
Actually, that's what Illinois drainage law says. Illinois drainage law says water can flow from the higher property to the lower property. And yes, physics controlled, and there is no, absent an easement or agreement that says so, under just plain old drainage law, the lower properties are barred from blocking, from actively blocking the flow of water, and the upper properties are barred from unreasonably contributing additional water. But other than that, nobody has any particular responsibilities. Everyone has rights, but that's at their own expense.
Gotcha.
So, you know, we've talked about it, we know that there's a lot of water entering these rear yards, you know, what can be done about it, okay? So, we looked at, you know, short-term, long-term, immediate, costly, you know, all sorts of different things, and we, you know, kind of came up with, you know, four different, thoughts for tonight. The first one is the drain tiles, as I mentioned, you know, they're just not mapped, and no one at this point knows for sure what the conditions are, what the depths are, anything like that. Mr. Tudor has mentioned that, you know, hey, I want to extend the drain tile. And I think that would be a great thing. Again, kind of similar to what happened in Cobblestone, you've got a 4-inch drain tile that will offer some low flow and immediate relief, but you've got an 18-inch road crossing culvert that outlets water to his backyard, and it goes into a 4-inch pipe. So just a lot of water into a little pipe, you know, isn't going to work too well, but that would offer some immediate relief. But I would suggest that the homeowners, you know, work together collaboratively, because those drain tiles cross multiple properties, to have those mapped. As Vic mentioned, you know, there's no drainage easements over those, meaning they're on private property, so that's why I, you know, keep that with the homeowners. Okay? You know, past that, you know, what's the next level? Okay, so we're looking at, okay, so you've got a lot of water coming down Osage, a lot of water going through that road crossing culvert, getting into the backyard. You know, how can you know, effectively just, you know, bypass the road crossing culvert and take water, back down towards the Y intersection? So we looked at, doing some, you know, grading the ditch, like I had mentioned earlier, just to go from Willow Spring Road down to Meadow Lane, but the ditch in front, where that high point is, would be 8 feet deep, just if you wanted just to ditch it. So I said that's not a viable option. I don't think that's safe, or something that would be, you know, some things that, you know, residents would, you know, like to live with. So we looked at it. of, hey, can you put a pipe in there? So we came up with and I think this was a separate exhibit, but, putting in.
Is it here or just separate from here?
It was in the board packet, but it's not in that memo.
Okay, I don't remember seeing it.
So putting in,
Oh, this, okay.
Yep.
It's hard to see anyway, so.
about 300 feet of pipe on the south side of Osage, starting at the road crossing culvert and extending southeast.
So right here.
Yep. So that would, go under the high point of the road, if you will, because once you get over the high point, Osage drops quite a bit, towards that one. Okay?
This is in the public stuff too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So look at that, part of that solution would be, the 12-inch pipe would be in a lower elevation than the road crossing culvert. So any water coming from the northwest, going southeast on Osage, would go into this 12-inch pipe before it would go into the road crossing culvert. Okay? Good?
Not quite.
Okay.
Is there a cross-section?
Okay. I didn't put any of those together, but, okay, so we've got.
If you want a whiteboard, you can draw up there too,
You
so.
can go to the whiteboard.
My artistic abilities, I'm not.
So if I'm at the road.
Yep.
Then there's the 18,
Yep.
and there's the 12?
Yep.
Okay.
So we want to put the 12 lowest, and that's going to be the pipe that drains south and east, so that way water gets in this 12-inch pipe, and then if that becomes surcharged, overwhelmed, the 18-inch pipe would act as an overflow.
So the pipe that goes across the road to Jim's and Joe's house, right, would be the overflow.
Mm-hmm.
This new pipe would be below it.
So it would take the first,
It would take whatever,
whatever.
yeah, whatever it is, and then shoot it down underneath,
Mm-hmm.
below ground, and then come back out over here somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, and then it would just continue,
But,
after the pipe, it would just follow.
but there's no way to engineer it so that it would take so much water that, during a heavy storm, that some of it would still drift back, right? Once it fills up, it'll drift back over here.
Okay, so that's where we started on this, just as a kind of a middle of the road on this. And we've got an engineer's opinion probable cost on this, it's a little over $100,000, okay? Again, you got an 18-inch pipe across the road, 12-inch pipe down. It's not going to take all of the water, but it's gonna handle, low to moderate, drainage events, probably 75–80% of the rains that we have. Okay? So looking at it, can you put a large enough pipe to convey all of the water in Osage and from Willow Spring down to that Y intersection? And that's where a 24-inch pipe comes in, that we looked at. And, this is kind of the, belt and suspenders, approach. The 24-inch pipe that, we had in the materials was much longer, because, we were looking at, hey, if the direction is to put a pipe in there that's going to handle all of the water, let's handle all of the ditching and with this as well. The 12-inch pipe is just that. Put the 12-inch pipe, leave the rest of the ditches alone, and, this is going to get the water past, Joe's house, if you will, okay? The 24-inch pipe is a much longer pipe. It actually starts, up towards the property line of 7067, and, yep, right where your cursor is Bill, that's, 7067, so we had a 24-inch pipe going from there into the same location, going under the high point of the road, and then ending, and then, stormwater runoff would follow the ditch in Osage Road down to that Y intersection.
So 7067 is the top of the triangle.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so we had that, and actually, like I said, the belt and suspenders put it on both sides of the road, because you get, kind of drainage, concerns on both sides, and that's the one that had, that said the impressive price tag of a $500,000.
So that's 24 inches, way deep, both sides.
Mm-hmm.
From the top end of Osage till at least past the high point.
Correct.
Is there a risk of, with a 24-inch pipe that there would be unintended consequences, that it would cause flooding down here at the bottom.
That was my question. Where is this water going? There's no retention pond there. Are we just moving the problem?
So much of heavy volume of water might flood somebody else's
I don't know
yard.
if you have the exhibit, but even on that one, we also had, you know, looking at regrading and making sure that the ditches on the
Oh, okay.
are all the way down. And then also, as I mentioned, there's a swale that goes, and it's just, behind the 83 RV property, that goes from Meadow Lane into the Ravenna subdivision, that would need to be, cleaned as well and regraded, just to make sure that that can handle.
It's that bottom
the
left,
flows.
it's that bottom right blue arrow.
Yep, correct.
This one?
More down, yep. So yes, we're looking, you know, don't wanna move the problem up just over the high point of the road, you know, get it out, because as, you know, I mentioned earlier, even 2.5 weeks ago, when we got a lot of rain, there was a lot of water at that Y intersection.
Right.
The road was
Right.
underwater,
Yeah.
so.
And I'm just looking-
You don't wanna just put 24-inch pipes in there and just say, you know, maybe move it from here to here.
We don't wanna just swap the people from Towners in the audience for the people from Ravenna in the audience.
Ravenna actually was designed to take all the water runoff from Towners, it's just not getting there.
I see they do have some
At this
retention ponds, but there's a lot of yards to get through to get there.
So in Ravenna, this actually, discharges into a platted outlot,
Okay.
so there's no houses in there, and actually, years ago, the Ravenna HOA, cleaned up that, outlot because it wasn't quite graded correctly. So, a big part of the discussion was making sure and evaluating, and this was when the new rainfall data came online, making sure that that outlot accommodates all the runoff from Towners with the new rainfall. So, you know, they've got that, that's accommodated for, and then it gets into the creek through there. So, and then the last thing, that's been mentioned a few times that I've been out on the property, and I don't know if, Mr. Tudor mentioned it to you, but the property is 7067 Willow Spring, that's at the, corner,
Oh, right here, up here.
corner of the triangle.
Yeah, it's at Willow Spring and,
Yeah.
and Osage.
There's a lot of water coming from there, and there's been, you know, comments about they've got an indoor swimming pool, they discharge it, you know, quite often, it's contributing to the issue. I did speak to, Victoria and Eugene, after the rains, and he confirmed that they do have a pool. I didn't get into any of the, how often they discharge and everything like that, but I think that's something that should get looked into, making sure that that's being done appropriately. So, you know, those were kind of, you know, immediate, least cost effective, you know, and all the way to some of the belt and suspenders, you know, options could be, you know, in between there as well, but, thought this would be a good memo to kind of summarize and, you know, lay out those first, few thoughts, for discussion.
So let me just ask a question too, because, Vic, the ditch on this side of the road, who owns that?
It's on the private property of the two lots.
So it is.
We have no
Yeah.
easement, there was something else, we have no easement on Osage.
Only the right-of-way itself.
So-
There is a drainage easement, but it is not dedicated to the village or anybody else. It's just simply reserved as a drainage easement, and that is it straddles the two lots.
So on either side of the road, where the road is, the ditches, we have no, that's not ours, we don't have any right of way there.
The right-of-way is 60 feet wide there. There's also power poles out there, and the power poles are usually right at the right-of-way line, so.
So the ditches are in the right of way, the ditches themselves.
Yeah.
So if, I'm just asking this question, so if one of our options was to provide some immediate relief, putting in that 12-inch pipe, obviously figuring out how it gets funded, that would be in our right of way, right?
Correct.
Okay,
And that is the 12-inch one that's gonna go under the high point that,
Right.
that Jeff had outlined.
And the 18-inch would be the overflow.
And again, that would not be handling, right now the ditches are designed and intended to handle the water from the roadway.
right.
The 12-inch line doesn't do anything for that. It's actually to provide relief to the other properties, mostly north, I guess.
Yeah, well, it would provide relief to a lot of properties down here if the water be diverted. The question is, would it cause another problem, right? Pardon?
That the ditch is only for the roadway, I can't believe that. Because it would take the runoff from the slope of the homes also, and the roadway.
I believe the roadway is actually, because of its high point, it's not taking all of that rain. It can't.
There are several homes on the north side of Osage that are still below the road.
The road is.
That's what I understand.
Well, below the
All the houses on the north side, I wouldn't say all of them, but there's a lot of houses on the north side that are lower than the road, correct?
Yeah, even that, there's a newer two-story that's significantly below the road, and they kind of have a plateau, and then it looks like it goes down there also.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the funding, part of this is, interesting. As you know, I don't remember which, political representative was out there, but, anyway, discussions are being had, and, one of the gentlemen from the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission contacted me and said, hey, I hear that, the village might be looking at a drainage project, and I said, well, we need to discuss this first, there's grants out there for that, and I said, yeah, okay, well, let me have the discussion with the village, and I'll get back to you. And it's in the memo as well, and what he was talking about is the Stormwater Infrastructure Repair Fund, and Lake County annually offers, grants up to $50,000, and it's a 50/50 match program, to drainage projects such as this. And in the memo, I highlight that the best eligible projects, highest scoring projects, whichever way you want to say it, are those projects that affect multiple properties, multiple jurisdictions, have mapped, structural flooding, and, a lot of those boxes do get checked on this one. So, as I mentioned, the 12-inch pipe was $129,000, I think was the EOTC. He went through a Lake County Stormwater Management Commission, and this was there. They could award up to $50,000 for it.
So I just there's one question though, it's, I don't know, is it 70, 80, 90%? How much rain, if you get a 4-inch rainstorm, it's not gonna hold, but the majority of them, putting that 12-inch pipe in will address most of the instances?
So, I can run some more numbers on that to get that actual number, it's hard to say, does it do 50% of the storm, 60, 70%,
Who knows
engineers
what
are the
future rain is.
dorks that, we looked at things, the 10-year storm interval, and that's the storm that's got a 10% probability of happening every year. And it goes all the way up to the 100-year storm, 1% chance, but it doesn't happen once every 100 years, because, we've had multiple of them in the last few years. So, I'll get you that number.
Okay, yeah,
Is this the new list? Remember we went through this a couple of years ago where they revised and said, we're getting more rain?
Yeah.
And so the new levels are higher?
Mhm.
well, so you have a couple different things here, right? Because, you also have a bunch of failed drain tiles, right? So that's on private homeowners' property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so those things could be privately repaired if everyone could get together, right? Then you have something that we could potentially help out, get a grant and whatever in our right of way and address as well, right?
Option as well.
Yeah, and so you can I don't know how it works, if the drain tiles get fixed and we put the 12-inch pipe in, does that
Yeah.
solve most of it altogether, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, even if the drain tiles get fixed, there's still gonna be water that goes that way, because as mentioned, the 12 inch is just on the south side of Osage. The north side of Osage will continue to drain like it is, so water will go that course, but it would be significantly less, because there's not water coming
It
through
won't
that.
be coming underneath the
Correct.
road to go over to the
Yep.
north side.
Correct.
What happens if the neighbors don't choose to do the drain tile? Does that 12-inch still, how effective is the 12-inch?
The 12 inch will still offer a lot of relief for them. And it's interesting, the drain tile that, comes up towards, Mr. Tudor's residence, you know, that is flowing to some degree. You know, water's going in there and it's not ponding at the surface. How it goes from there and where it goes, I don't know.
I can feed some light into that. I can feed some light into a lot of those.
Okay. Yeah.
The drain tile that is just east of Joe Tudor's property was put in by a resident that lived there mid-80s. My mom lives at the 7056. I lived there from 1970 all the way till when I moved out, but I'm still over there all the time. I understand what you're saying, there are a bunch of drain tiles there. One, finding them, and then it's been so long, and it's like 3 feet of black dirt. Most of them by now are clay. They're gonna be filled with roots and dirt, so they're pretty much gonna be not usable anyway. It's really hard to route a clay tile without destroying it, especially when it's 70 years old. The subdivision before 1986 was part of Vernon Township. Vernon Township, on a 7 to 10 year rotation, do on the south side of the road, ditch maintenance, regular. In 1986, Long Grove petitioned the subdivision to become Long Grove because at the time where everything that backs up to the subdivision used to be called Indian Valley Golf Course. And the golf course wanted to go what it is now, homes. And Long Grove thought, if we surround them, we can stop it. It was a pretty close vote. And Long Grove told the residents, nothing will change. Everything that you have with the township, you will have with us. I was at the meeting, that's exactly what Long Grove said. I know it was none of the board or anybody else that was here, but that's what was said. Residents went Long Grove. Nothing with the drainage has been done. For the first time the road was repaved, when Long Grove was under the jurisdiction, that 18-inch culvert you're talking about used to be an 8-inch culvert, starting at the same height where it is, but not nearly going down as far as this, and it was made for overflow. Ever since Long Grove put that culvert in, yards between 7056 and Joe Tudor's lot, yards between, never dry up. Never dries up because that pond on the corner, with the previous owner, he was constantly pumping his pond down. Now with this owner, there's a gravity-fed drain, as we understand, in the bottom of the pond. So again, even though it's dry outside right now, if you go to the two houses, it's not dry between the two houses right now. It's constant water. So even if we get a quick half-hour, 40-minute rain of 1/3 of an inch, it's a lake between the two houses because it's always saturated. It can't drain. If you go by the two properties right now, you will notice 2 holes dug with pumps. We're constantly pumping the water across Joe Tudor's yard to the drain pipe. That pond that we're talking about, the second time since Long Grove's we've been unincorporated from them, Long Grove put 2 culverts, I believe a 15-inch and a 12-inch, taking water from the west side of Meadow Lane into that pond, which took that pond from a private pond to a public pond. So now, that water that's constantly draining down Osage, under the road, and between the two houses and all through the backyards, that's basically a public problem because Long Grove put those culverts in. So, I don't understand how Long Grove can look at us and say, it's the residents' problem. When a lot of the problem has been caused by Long Grove. I understand that, you know, everything that you're saying and stuff like that, but I work for a municipality. Ditch lines are made to keep the water away from the house. And the two homes that we're speaking of right now, that is not happening. I have a picture of any time we get anywhere from little under a half inch of rain to anything more, but when it comes down hard, my mom's front yard, from the road all the way up to the house, is level. It's a lake. I pumped a front yard down anywhere from 3 to 5 times a year. Only gotten worse since the man on the corner with the pond now has a gravity fed pond, where, well, that and one of the houses on the south side of the road is rented out. Another one is private, but the culverts were put in, and they're not even close to being the size they need to be. So as we get the rain, and it rains heavy, it all comes over to the, the north side of the road.
Over or through the culvert?
Over. I have pictures of it.
Okay, I don't need that,
I'm sorry. I'm one of the ones who's been, I work in this municipality, I know how it works, but, you know, you keep being told you need to be patient. I'm one of the ones that started in 2019 talking to you guys, along with Mr. Conrad, or Gerstenbrand and everything else, Conrad Gerstenbrand. You guys keep telling me to be patient. It's been 5 years. The house just gets worse and worse flooding. We can't keep dealing with this.
Well, so stop for a second. So Jim, thank you for those thoughts. I think if I'm understanding correctly, one of the solutions that probably mimics any maintenance that may have been done by Vernon Township was putting this 12-inch pipe in. That would provide an incredible amount of relief. I would have to think that would be equal to or better than what was there before.
If I may, Bill, too.
Yeah.
You guys know, I also suggested, well, you know, back when you were saying the culverts were the homeowner's responsibility. We have talked to those homeowners several times. They've done nothing.
What's the story with these two culverts you were mentioning? Does that?
Well, okay, so he's mentioning 2 culverts, on the west side of Willow Spring, or west side of 7067, they go under Willow Spring. Towners was repaved 2018?
2017, I just looked at it.
Okay, so, prior to that repaving, we looked at, all the culverts in the subdivision, and there was an 18-inch culvert in there that had been pushed down, because it was a corrugated metal pipe. So we did the hydraulics to, what pipe can be put in there, because there wasn't enough, elevation and cover between the pipe and the road to put an 18-inch pipe back there. So that's why the 18 is a 12-inch and a 15-inch, with the studies of making sure that that doesn't increase the amount of water that an 18-inch pipe would have done before. So that's what the pipe he's looking at. So those are new concrete pipes as of 2017.
Well, why were those installed?
They were replacing that existing 18-inch pipe that was there. Why that one was there, I don't know.
I used to mow that yard as a child, and up to 85, there was no culvert ever there going into that pond. So this 18-inch culvert that you're referring to, when did it get installed? The people who used to own that house were the Scoldmans, and they owned, restaurant in, Lake Bluff, the silo in Lake Bluff. So I can tell you for a fact, through 85, there was no culvert going into that pond. So, 18-inch culvert that you're talking about, I never saw it. They replaced the culvert?
Yes.
I will sign the affidavit, there was no culvert.
Yeah, we can, so we can,
I've got pictures of it.
right. So, bring it back here. So, I mean, I think there's a very expensive solution, and one with, that may not even totally solve it and cause other problems with the 24-inch pipe that's gonna cost over $500,000. There's something that I think would provide some immediate relief with this, 12-inch pipe, and I think the question is, and then there still is gonna be issues with drain tiles that may or may not have to be replaced, but I don't know how you bring it to a, you know, some kind of a conclusion that we could make on this that would be a win-win for all, right? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, we gotta help I feel like we have to help these residents, right?
Yeah, I sort of agree with, this is a public road, this is a thing that we annexed into it. I think we have some moral, opportunity.
Right. So we can offer to help, and if we can get grants and things like that, it's just, if you're starting to go into people's backyards, replacing drain tiles, that gets, I'm not sure that that's something that we should be taking on, and nor do we really have the right to. We'd have to have easements and everything else, but maybe there's something that we can do that we can, if it's felt, that will solve most of the problem and provide the needed relief. That's what we should be looking at, in my opinion.
When, like I said, when Vernon Township had it, that pipe that goes underneath the road, that 18-inch culvert, that wasn't that big. It was like, it was made for, as Jeff's talking about, you know, in the future plans, it was made at that time for an overflow.
Right.
When everything was staying on the south side of the road, and it was trenched, but I understand how you're saying you'd have to go 8 feet, but when they were regularly trenching, I mean, all the water that has constantly been going through with the issues with the pond on the corner has dropped a lot of that ditch line that you're talking about. So I understand to keep it going forward, you would have to really dig down, but it was never, usually, it wasn't that deep before. It used
To get
be
this, you need.
years of water constantly running over it and just taking all the dirt with it.
But Jim, a solution like that, I mean, again, I'm not an engineer, but you'd have to tell us, something like that would maybe eliminate a lot of the problem, provide relief, and that would be something that we would, you know, need to decide as a board. It's not unheard of that we would, help out in a situation like this. We've done it in the past, but if we can get grants and things like that.
When you say that, which that are you speaking of?
Well, we did, what's the name of the subdivision? Shenandoah, we did Shenandoah.
And that was a public-private kind of.
Yeah, well, there's two of them in, Country Club Estates, right, but Shenandoah was the big one.
Do we have any others on our publicly owned roads that we should be mindful of versus waiting on our heels for?
Greg's got a list of them.
Unhappy people.
Yeah.
I've got a list. So,
I mean, we have a list of our public roads.
no, I have a list of drainage issues. I was out on site to 5 different subdivisions and at the last rain, visiting with the homeowners because of some issues with drainage. So I can recap all that into a memo for the board. I'm supposed to meet with them again next week.
Okay.
Rolling Glen is one of them. I'm sorry.
Is that Lake Eleanor?
No,
No, that's,
that's,
private HOA, so that's what's interesting too, because if it happens in a private HOA, they're 100% responsible, so,
Well, that's why I was asking about our
Yeah.
public roads, because that one I feel we really, really want to be mindful
Yeah.
of.
right.
Crestview, that's one, and, Promontory,
Promontory Point? Yep.
Really?
that's another one.
Yep. That's another one.
So what action are you really recommending this evening, and what would be next steps and timeframe? So,
You know, what I can say, you know, the 12-inch pipe, that's the middle of the road to offer, you know, reducing a lot of the flow that's gonna go through that 18-inch pipe for the rear yard. You know, I can go back and talk with Lee County about the grant and, you know, process timing is probably
Right.
a big component of that. But, you know, the funding and all of that stuff, you know, needs to get sorted out too.
Would it make sense, in light of what Greg said, to understand the magnitude of the issues
precedent?
village-wide, so that before we proceeded too far down one path, we didn't create a precedent that might be a substantially bigger undertaking than we thought?
Yeah, I want to be mindful of the, you know, the urgency of these properties now in springtime rains, but also understand kind of like what else we're doing here. What would our next step be? We have nothing here in front of us to take action on anyway.
I think the next step, if I can make the recommendation, would be we get a clear sense from Vic on where our standing is as to public property, if it's just in the right of way, which we're talking about, at least that's what I heard. We have Jeff turn around and put together a proposal like we would any other proposal. In the meantime, or concurrently, I'll have, our limited staff turn around and begin looking for, funding opportunities outside stormwater management.
Have anything to say?
Well, yeah, so Chris, are you, trying to talk, or are you?
No, he didn't look like it. I was just looking at him.
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay. Anyone else have anything they want to say right now too on this?
I'm saying all of the things that I'm thinking, so thank you.
If it's any, for a bit of additional information, going out and meeting with the, residents in those subdivisions next week. I'm doing that with, Representative Syed's chief of staff, the purpose of it was to ask for money.
So more money besides Lake County stormwater.
Yeah.
So you're gonna compile where we are in terms of what you're aware of this may be another, Vic's gonna help us on kind of legal standing, if you will. And
Jeff put together some numbers to start with Founders and then.
To start with Founders,
But,
yeah.
but I want to tell you, I fully think that we have to figure out a path forward to help these guys.
I agree with you.
And it is awful, and I do like the solution that was proposed with the 12-inch pipe. And again, with some assurances that you put it the right way, and it's gonna get the water down the way and not all going, into Jim and Joe's yards, right?
There still will be overflow, but far, far, far less.
And that may then require them to do some other things with drain tiles and so forth, but at least we alleviate a big chunk of the problem.
If I were a resident, I'd wanna know what the heck did they decide?
Yeah.
Well,
And
the problem with 7056 front yard flooding is simply that the culverts on the south side of the road are, like the one directly across from 7056, I believe is partially collapsed. The water builds up on the one side, and that's where, and it's not only there, but it's also the ones going farther west. They're just not big enough, so it builds up on one side of the driveway, comes over the road, and then, like Jeff said, the yards are a little bit lower than the street.
Right.
They just fill up like lakes.
No, I was there, it's like the street is a high point.
So if you had at least had those culverts replaced, so the water could just flow underneath the driveways, even though we still don't want it between the two houses. I know Joe Truder he doesn't want any water, but right now, like I said, 3 or 4 times a year, the front yard of my mom's house is a lake.
I'm just, like I said, if I were a resident, I'd want to know, what's the soundbite of what did we just decide here, or what's our next step?
Yeah.
There'd
Well-
be that. The other thing.
No, I think.
What's our schedule with Ela Township to keep the culverts clean?
Right, that was the question.
Well, so Jeff, help us out, or Greg, if it's on somebody's driveway, because it's the driveway culverts that are clogged
But
up.
that's on the right of way.
No, it's the one that's underneath the road.
Oh, the one that's underneath the
No,
road.
the ones that go underneath the driveways.
Oh,
But
okay.
that culvert is literally within 10 feet of the road.
Okay, so
Still
then
on the
you're
road.
right away.
So, and the village policy had been, driveways and driveway culverts are put in by permit to service the residents. So they are the residents' responsibility to own, maintain, keep clean. If they're collapsed, replace, things like that.
But it sounds like Vernon Hills used to do that.
Vernon Township.
Vernon Township. And they were told that would still be happening, and it isn't.
Here's a question, what's it cost us to have Ela do it X times a year and then spread that across like it was an HOA?
For every culvert in the village,
No, I meant in towners.
I don't know, we'd have to ask.
Well, so I think you got a couple things here, right? So the culverts, first off, I mean, I don't know if somebody can go out there and look are they clogged, right? I mean, and we could, if it does provide some initial relief, we could unclog it at least for now, right? But we may have to work with those homeowners to make sure they get those culverts replaced, right?
Well, that's what I originally, I said I've been doing this since 2019, but yes, this year I actually talked to Greg and I Can't say enough about Greg and you, Bill, you came out, you guys have been tremendously supportive, I want to say that first thing. But yes, I have in the last couple of years approached those homeowners. One says, I just rent. The other one just said, well, I'll get on it. One says, oh yeah, I got the culvert up there by the house. None of them have done it.
Yeah, so,
It's hard to push a neighbor to do something.
but we have some ability to push them to get it cleaned up, right?
Well, we have abilities to, have them replace any damaged culverts, for the driveways.
Right.
But as far as taking measures to improve or correct the drain tiles, we don't have any particular
No, I'm not talking about the
regulations
drain tiles, I'm talking about the culverts. I think
Yeah, the
where my head's
culverts are
at
the
is,
one place where we have some, you know,
Right.
to the extent that they're damaged, that's part of the privilege of having that driveway go across our right-of-way, part of the apron.
I mean, I don't know, I mean, this is where we have to have somebody come back to us, but the drain tiles, I mean, we're not going in people's backyards and installing drain tiles.
That doesn't sound
That's,
like,
Well, and at this point, like I said, since they're clay and they're probably filled with roots and dirt, it wouldn't even be worth, cleaning them out, you know, root cutting, because the tiles would just disintegrate. Any new drain tiles stay or last.
really.
Yeah, and, you know, that's kind of where I'm at with, you know, mapping the system, you know, can you figure out what the materials are? You know, you mentioned, some of it put in, you know, what did you say, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, that's a white plastic pipe, you know, probably in, you know, fair condition, right? But some of the old drain tiles that were looked at in 2019, that's clay. You know, how much of it is good, usable, how much of it would need to be replaced? You know, don't know that, and, you know, in 2019, traced the drain tiles to Osage in front of that Y intersection, but, you know, did not find where they went from there. American Underground, you know, they tried, but, you know, it was a limited, exercise at the time, and they did more of the dye testing, as I mentioned. So, you know, finding that out, is it collapsing into the road? Could be.
all right, so I think we probably need to wrap this up. So you're gonna kind of come back to us. I mean, and hopefully I'm okay, and I'm not speaking for the whole board, but focused on, you know, on the, is it the west side of the road, is that the right side, or the south side of the road on that 12-inch pipe? Putting it in, and what grants would be available, and just kind of assessing how much that relief that would provide. It sounds like it'd provide a lot.
So.
So engineering,
We'll get a little more
legal,
information on that.
Yeah.
village
We'll do,
implications.
exactly, legal, I'll put together a staff memo, legal, we'll put together a proposal on what's the most effective way to do it. You'll look at stormwater management for funding, and then I will work with the intergovernmental, with the representatives in the senator's office to see what funding's available.
All right, good? All right, thank you.
And I will check with Ela Township on the cost on the culverts, cleaning the culverts.
That was my side question, like, there's no HOA there, but, you know, if Vernon Township did this, would this be that, and is there a cost sharing or a fund transfer? At least it would make sure it gets done.
Yeah. I think we have a little homework to do there too on that, so, okay. Thank you, thanks for all the effort there.
Yeah, no, thanks for this.
Thank you, this is a lot.
Just for future, if you do have any other subdivisions that have ditch lines to get rid of the water, if you don't have anything in place, that might be something you want to look at. There's ditch line maintenance, that's something that the town I work for, we do on a regular basis. If we need something that needs to be scheduled and done every so often, otherwise, you want to.
Thank-
And we're kind of looking at some
Other,
budgeting, better, preventive maintenance. Where do you work?
those.
Thanks, Jim, for being here, thanks for your comments, appreciate it.
Thank you. You saw a yellow car lurking on Sunday, somebody came out, that was.
I'm not actually good.
Okay, so I don't know how difficult this is gonna be, but at the last meeting, we kind of had a good discussion with Wold Architects, and we wanted to, I think we all walked away with, let's get a contract signed and get them moving. So, I know, Chris, you weren't there, you didn't have the benefit of that. I don't know where to go with this, so.
So we decided to look at, executing an agreement with Wold. Vic has looked at the contract, the architect's contract, and there's a question raised about percentages that were in there based on the architect's work or the contractor's work. But, this particular agreement's not to exceed 71,062. So the rest of that I did some follow-up to the question. So the rest of that language is, a standard agreement, and am I correct, Vic?
Yeah, the AIA forms are, very commonly used, and that's what is proposed.
I have a question. I asked Greg today, and he said it's a big question.
Uh-oh.
In the agreement, page 21, like, it runs from 11.5 to 11.8. Basically, what my question regarding those items is the cost breakdowns are done on a percentage basis. And it seems that some of those tests are pretty perfunctory, so I don't understand why the charge would be a 20% charge or a 30% charge instead of an hourly rate. It just seemed excessive.
Again, that is more standard in the industry. We don't have to abide by it. I mean, that's something, as I mentioned to Greg, very standard document. That doesn't mean it can't be customized or that it even should be customized in some respects. But on its face, the document itself is not, it's a pretty balanced document. It's not tilting too heavily for one side or the other.
Mm-hmm. And I did read it, and I did notice that. I just found that unusual.
And, you know, how costs are, you know, how services are compensated, you know, it's roll the dice. It can always be an hour, you know, it can be a percentage, and some really good on one or another. So that was their proposal. There wasn't anything inherently wrong with it. It's the best one. I guess the answer is, I mean, if the hourly ends up being less, then no, it's not. If it ends up being more, then yeah, it is.
I get it. It just seemed, and I'll accept your response that it's an industry standard, but it seems like one that might get looked at frequently.
I mean, and there are negotiated outcomes that are either a flat rate amount, and then, you know, there are those that have a combination of both hourly and this one is actually both hourly and percentage, you know, services are involved. You know, those that are outside of the basic services are all gonna be on an hourly basis, so.
Is there a discussion? Does anybody want to talk about the contract? Is there enough support to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to
Chris,
approve.
Chris, it looks
Yeah.
like he wants to say something.
Yeah, I do have a question. Sorry about missing last meeting. Apologize for that. Was this competitively bid in any way?
No, it was not.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Oh,
not,
what,
I'll actually take that. Municipalities are not allowed to competitively bid architectural services. We can't go for the lowest offered price. We actually have to go through a process that identifies the most qualified, and then afterward, prices are negotiated. In this case, I don't recall, I think we had some kind of prior relationship with Wold, but,
Deer Park used
Deer Park
them.
used them, their Tower Lake.
So several municipalities have used them, so. and
Okay,
we
so
told
then
them that they did.
then I'll restate my question. So what other firms were evaluated to consider whether or not they're qualified?
None.
Okay, so
No,
we
we
reached
didn't
the
go through
same
the process.
conclusion with different verbiage. Okay, thank you.
I think my memory is the discussion last meeting was, a time factor, number one. Not that the tail wags the dog, but we did talk about, we've spent months discussing this. And I believe there was a consensus that the Deer Park Village Hall turned out very, very nice, presentable, it's functional, it's efficient, it's not over the top, and it's not, you know, a basic kind of building. We talked about how we want it presented, which I believe will come after we get elevations and drawings and so on and so forth. And at the meeting, it's like, let's move forward. We've talked about it enough, we've gone over it, we've analyzed it, just let's get it started.
Yeah, we do have it because of the funding that we're using.
Correct.
The clock ticking on that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And because they did come last time and we talked through what are the things that are important. The architect also reviewed the prior meeting.
Yes.
We talked through things like we wanted, you know, we have a small staff who comes to work here, and so we wanted to not just be functional, but also be, you know, at least attractive, not over the top attractive, but a thing that can be part of the non-cash, an interaction of why would you want to work for Long Grove.
It's an intangible.
Yeah.
We said we want our employees to enjoy coming to work.
Yeah, and we
There
all,
are problems here that are not enjoyable.
and we wanted to do the thing because we have some interesting things about this property, and we also need to get more bathrooms, we need to get functional space, we need to get good meeting space, we need to get a village manager's office that actually might be ADA compliant and not go up 100-year-old stairs.
Ladders.
All right, so, I mean, if somebody,
Live motion, I'll second it.
so who moved it first? Oh, Kent, moved by trustee Tanucci, seconded by trustee Kritzmeyer. Roll call.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
No.
Trustee Micho. Aye. Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, thank you. All right, so we have, a public hearing, so how do I, start this public hearing on the budgets?
Call it to order.
So I need to, just,
Open the public hearing.
I'm opening, calling the public hearing to order, okay. Now it's open. Do I need to take a roll call or anything?
No, we just need to see if anyone is here to.
Is there any public comment regarding
Regarding next year's budget.
next year's fiscal budget? All right, that's one public comment, make sure you get that. Any other public comment? Anybody, no, I think this is all us now, right? Yeah, it's all us now.
Can I make a comment as a trustee who's been touching this quite a bit?
Yes, you may.
I think that I'm just so pleased to partner with Greg and staff on this, because over the last, I've been doing this 6 years, it's just gotten ever tight and thoughtful in terms of just like making sure the things match, they go together, they're based on both trends, things from IML, they're based on, you know, science and the right kind of art, and so I'm really pleased about where we are.
Okay.
Anything in that budget, art issue, sound like there is.
As far as specific water issues?
No, not for specific.
No, not at this point, no. So,
Kind
yeah.
of,
We have the ability to, I will say, one of the things, we've done some things over the years, like refinancing debt, opened up money in the general fund. The thing that's good about general fund money is you can put it anywhere. You know, if it's in infrastructure, it's only, general can go anywhere, and we've been doing some things to help unlock money. That doesn't mean we're flush with cash, but that does mean that we could, knowing what we know from tonight, this had to be published 10 days before tonight, so knowing what we know tonight, we have the opportunity to try to figure out how do we not go on the sofa cushions, but at least find money and amend budgets, so we can always.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the budget can be amended, so, but we have to pass the budget tonight, prior to the start of our next fiscal year. or else we'll be just like the federal government. We can't do that.
We don't wanna go there.
No.
You know, I haven't been here enough, I admit, and, obviously you all understand this a lot more and do a lot of hard work. I ran a business, so I have some idea. That's why I questioned the contract. We never did anything without getting at least 3 bids on everything. But my bigger concern is this gentleman says he's been begging for 5 years.
Well, I don't know that that's ever made it before the board, so must admit, so it's not made it onto my plate until a few weeks ago.
Well, and he said too, in all fairness, you guys have been great, so I just,
Yeah.
going forward, it sounds like it's a problem, but
It does.
It is, it's, you know, and all these things are complex because, you know, it's like, it's not all our responsibility, but in my opinion, our responsibility is to help the residents of this village, and that's what we're gonna try to do.
hey, my neighbor's been flooding problems too. I was talking to Fred about him. I'm sure I'm on his list. But we have private roads, so I don't know what that's gonna mean to me.
Yeah,
But
and
we have caused problems. The next neighborhood did. So, and they're killed here, and so it is complicated.
yeah, it's complicated, and then, you know, and that is the fun thing about this town, with about 2/3 of the subdivisions being, you know, managed by HOAs. I live in an HOA, we are 100% responsible for detention ponds, snow removal, our road repairs, any of those things would fall, you know, under us, but,
Well, we care about all of them, and we try to at least.
yeah, we're trying to help it, we've
Start
helped,
with the mental energy, if not even the engineering energy, you know?
yeah, we've helped everyone, or we're trying to come up with ways to help everyone within, and work within the framework that we have,
Well,
which
in
is,
all fairness to you, I've only recently brought this forward, and all the responses have been not complaining, just wanting to understand.
yeah. So do I,
That's great.
thank you.
There are a lot of people who don't understand and don't wanna understand, and it's
So there's no more public comment, I'm gonna close the meeting. Yeah, somebody else, yeah. So I'm gonna, if there's no more comment, I'm gonna close the public hearing, so. No more comments? All right, the public hearing is closed. All right, so now who wants to explain the budget, or do we need to?
I need to first go to the, discussion of the amendment for the fiscal 22-23. I provided the board members, a copy, and I'll send Chris one. I'm sorry, Chris, I had one at your plate today.
This one, right?
Yeah. There was a correction made to the amendment numbers, so the numbers that are down here in the yellow are the ones that should be, if the board chooses to adopt, the amending ordinance, have them reflect the new numbers. This morning, I got some numbers back from our partners at Seidler and required me to adjust some numbers.
Got it. That's excellent.
Yep. So if you look on page 2 of the ordinance itself, it has a box there where it says revenues, expenditures, and net. I will just be changing those numbers to reflect the numbers you see here in the yellow on the bottom 3, right here.
Oh, I see.
I like the numbers on the top one.
So the revenue number will stay the same. The expenditure number will go from the 5241,835 to 5247,954, and the net will go from 706,525 to 700,406.
And you accept the, amended budget for.
Okay, moved by trustee Kritzmeyer,
Second.
seconded by trustee O'Connor. Roll call, please.
Trustee Chris Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Yes.
Trustee Micho. Aye. Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. All right, so now it's consideration of an ordinance approving the fiscal year 23-24 general infrastructure and other fund budget, May 1, 2023 through April 30th, 2024. What, anyone want to explain?
You wanna talk about anything? I mean, we can talk about it also. As I said, this is one where we've done a lot of extensive work on ticking and tying, including revising all of the forecasts for the downtown tax increment financing district. Just so you know, the, increment for the fiscal year shown in here came in slightly lower. Remember, we're 2 years in arrears, so they came in slightly lower, but, some of the other things like taxes and so forth that are pledged towards, outside bonds, are going to be well covered. Our downtown TIF is a complex thing with lots of ins and outs. We've pledged multiple sources of revenue to bonds that are held outside, like somebody's mutual fund, God knows who. We also have the bonds that are really inter-fund transfers or inter-fund advances, and we refinanced those last fall, and those will be reflected in the budget amended as we discussed, and they're going forward here. Other than that, there's potential changes to this.
We have seen some increased revenue on this. What's on the budget I sent to the board this time that wasn't in the previous budget line was the transfer in from the TIF.
So the transfer, so recall last fall,
Where's that? Is it?
recall last fall, we went through the discussion of the bonds that are issued by the TIF that are owned by the general fund and the open space fund. So we went through and said, we're gonna reset all of that interest, the interest rate on all of that. And basically, we refinanced those bonds. That's really what we did. Those are now current. Okay, so now we're making payments on those because the TIF has more money. It's now increased enough so it can make payments on all of those. So it's making payments to both open space and general funds. That means there's transfers in coming to the open space and the general fund, and those are reflected in here. And those will be made every December 1st now going forward. So yay, that's a good thing. There's sales tax that are going up.
And then the sweep.
And that's the other thing I called them on, sorry. Interest rates are in our favor.
Yeah, I went back after our last meeting, started looking at numbers on when we did the bank change, and now we do the Northbrook sweep is what we call it, for better interest rates, and we brought in a little over $100,000 in new revenue.
Yeah, this current fiscal year we're about to finish in 3 days, I counted like 130 or something like that.
That would buy a pathway.
Exactly. Exactly.
Or part of a bridge.
So the other thing that's in here then is the stuff that you were part where there was an ad hoc capital improvement committee to go through and prioritize, and so that's reflected in here.
What about
Okay.
hiring
Okay.
finance person or staff that are being diminished to carrying out a lot more load?
Well, I've been mentioning a part-time finance person flippantly, but I'm actually not so flippant. I gave Greg not a job description, but a brain dump of all the financial things. That's not in this budget, but I really do think this village would benefit from having not a full-time person, we don't have that much, but candidly, it's not the right governance structure that an elected official do this. Or at least like, there should be some sort of, it should be part of the staff.
We appreciate your talents and your time.
We do, but. But also, I don't know, I also want to make sure that we retain in here to increase compensation for our staff.
Did you see the compensation, worksheet that was in there? Here, I'll just give it to you. This is,
Oh.
do you have it? No, here, so there was,
Here,
we should,
pass it down.
well, here, you can have mine. You can see what was done. So the, pay raises were 3.5, Jerry's was 3.5, then you have a promotion in here.
We moved Natalie to the next level in her career, which is from management analyst to assistant to the village manager, not assistant village manager, but assistant. In the public administration, that's the route you take, management analyst to an assistant, to an assistant, to a manager. Plus she has taken on significant responsibilities that merit that increase, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We've also allowed what my intent is to do is to finish up the program that we've all started on, meaning all being staffed on performance measures and a mid-year increase, to a lesser percentage, but a mid-year increase based on performance measures. We've been working on that. Each one on staff has put together their responsibilities and potential targets and goals. So, and I put that money into the budget. I also put additional funding in there for training and development. We're doing a heck of a lot more training in the last probably 3 months. Both Natalie, Margarita, and myself. So I've been doing GFOA budget webinars and training. So we're moving things along. Things are just a little tight with time right now.
Yeah,
So-
no, I know they're, losing Sherry is a big, you know,
Big loss.
it's a
Big
huge loss.
It's absolutely heartbreaking because she was the one who pulled me out of the weeds and said, no, you gotta go over there, no, you gotta go over there. She's a remarkable lady who did a remarkable job for this village, and she's gonna be deeply, deeply missed.
I just wanna make sure that we, are compensating our current staff appropriately and
We are searching for replacements, right?
yes.
Like everybody else, I'm sure, but,
Trying to get there.
okay.
Chris, any questions on the budget?
Not really a question, but I think the capital improvement money for the, that was mentioned earlier, the 350K for the water pipe north. I struggle with budgeting that if it's actually in the budget. Because to me, it's kind of the bridge to maybe somewhere as opposed to the bridge to somewhere. I mean, do we have any commitment from Briarcrest, or do we have any commitment that somebody's going to pull water out of that? And if so, what are the financial projections for that? You know, I don't know. I just struggle with that.
You would prefer to see that out of the budget?
Well, I would, because I don't want it to be a given that staff can go ahead and execute on without any discussion. I mean, to me, yeah, I'm sorry, Greg. You can go ahead, Greg, but you know, Log Grove needs water because downtown needs water. Okay, so then we did that, and then all of a sudden the owners of the properties down there going, yeah, we don't really want to connect to your water supply, so we force them to connect. And here we are 3-4 years after we forced them to connect, we're still screwing around people who don't want to connect, in a sense, right? Because of like the fountain and all that. And at some point you got to go, when does the village get out of the water business, or what is the projection for why we want to be in the water business? That's all I'm looking for, right? I mean, do we know Briarcrest even wants our water, and are they willing to pay for it? And not the water, but to help fund the connection? I don't know. I don't know if I know any of that.
Fire department, right?
Well, the fire department's looking for the connection, and the timing was just right because of the fact that Aptekissic was underway, so it wouldn't be, the work would be easier and less expensive. I have had conversation with the HOA president at Briarcrest regarding interest, and there is interest. Fire department definitely wants it. The 350 is also, I put it in the budget so we could execute it. Certainly wouldn't execute it without the board's approval. There's no doubt on that. And what our users going to be? What's the return on the investment on the 350,000? How does it increase or reduce our deficit on the day-to-day operations of the water distribution system? Those are all real questions that require real answers. The other thing is the 350 is going to be a reimbursable.
Right.
If it not providing the fire department closes the deal across the street at Valley Bunyan.
That's important.
Right, if they close the deal over there, then they have already, in fact, I already started conversations with Vic and about how they would possibly, how there would be a potential recapture or things that they could do. But to make sure we get the $350,000 back, that's what I was looking for.
So let me ask so just to support Chris here with his thought, what's the risk of just leaving it out of the budget?
Well, I was putting it in as part of the capital improvement plan because it was discussed and we were gonna project what our money was and have it lined up. Could we take it out of the budget and go back and amend the budget later to reflect the $350,000? Yeah, we have that prerogative based on the system that the budget system we're on. So we could remove it from the budget if there's a comfort level with it and go back. But if we go back to put it into the budget, again, it'll require a 2/3 vote. Am I correct on that, Vic?
Well, I mean, one of the other things that we could do is just state a little more generically if we chose. I mean, we could simply say for water improvements and put a number on it, and it wouldn't really identify what those water improvements would be specifically. That would be something that the board would determine at a later date. I think that part of the rationale was, instead of just having numbers out there, try to associate the numbers with particular plans. I think that was the point that Ann made at the outset of her comments, that we're trying to be both more scientific and, I like the way you said it, I think you said using the right art. And I think that's part and parcel of what you see reflected in the capital improvement plan. Is it binding? No, nothing is binding on the village until this board actually approves the expenditure. But the budget is supposed to give us the parameters and set us in the direction that we intend to go for the upcoming fiscal year.
So we don't, so just, I don't want to belabor this, but, so we don't know yet for sure if we think we're gonna get the grant, and we'd have to work out connecting the Lake Michigan water.
That's separate from this.
That's separate from this. This is just getting our pipe
Across
over
the
there.
street.
This
Across
is
the street.
about going across the street, which Kent may have more to say about it also, because if you're sitting in Briarcrest shoes, and they've gotta be dealing with radium, they'd actually love to shove that problem to someplace else, right?
And essentially, this doesn't cost us anything because we're being reimbursed. We can't lose.
We have an
You're right.
agreement for that reimbursement?
I'd rather buy lake water than-
No, not yet, Chris.
No, we do
Well,
not, and.
Well, well, then, when it comes in, let's talk, right? I mean, if we could work out the agreement and we're being reimbursed and it all makes sense, then we go, yeah, let's spend the money. But I really fear putting money in under Vic's suggestion of water. I mean, that's even broader stroke brush. It really scares me even more.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree. I'd rather have it in the budget for people to look at and then come back and talk to us about it. Because to the point, we don't have to spend a dime of it. I mean, we will not spend any of the money. The budget is one thing saying, here's our intention, here's our priorities for our money. We don't actually spend the money until, an ordinance comes in front of us.
Right.
Okay, so we've decided somewhere formally that this is a priority for the village.
Yeah, that was part of a ad hoc capital improvement committee.
Okay, that was an
So-
ad hoc capital committee. That's great. So the village residents living north of 22 are all for this. Is that what we're saying?
I think this is,
So-
this isn't a north-south issue.
It's not a North-South issue.
And I have a problem with that thinking, because we're here for all of the residents. And if, on a lot of levels and a lot of issues that we deal with here, if we keep doing the same thing we've been doing, we're gonna keep getting the same thing, which is nowhere. This is a no-risk project, and it is in one of the top 5 priorities that we said are our priorities. And that's a big step for us to have sat back and said, okay, what are the top 10? We've got all these possibilities, all these, themes and tendrils and whatever's out there. What is it that we are gonna commit to? Radium is a big deal, water is a big deal, and there is no way in hell, if we can get the grant that the senator has talked about, there is no way we could afford that on our own at this time or in 2 years or 3 years, unless we start taxing the residents. So it's a step in the right direction. And we do have residents who are gonna be dealing with radium in their water, like it or not, nobody likes it. We have an opportunity to do something now to alleviate that fear, that problem, that reality. I think it's something that, I think we'd be foolish to take a pass on it. And I like the way, Chris, that you raised the questions. They're very good questions, and I understand where you're coming from. This is, to me, this is not a North Long Grove, South Long Grove
Right.
thing. It's what's gonna help the majority of our residents, not just today, but for the next 5, 10, 15 years. I'll be quiet now.
The only side note, and I don't know if it will be even able to tap into it, but Lake Zurich is gonna be bringing water, up near Diamond Lake Road and Indian Creek Road, and it probably won't get close enough, but I don't know that that's a viable option, but we have to give them a right-of-way on Indian Creek Road, and it could, provide us with an opportunity to get water north, somewhere. I don't know if it'll get close enough to your house, but just talking up north, but, you know, up in Indian Creek Road, that could feed a few subdivisions in that area. Just, you know, interesting thought, so.
No,
Yeah,
Bill,
that's
I'm aware of that. Thank you. I think Manager Jackson told me about that, but, you know, we still need $60 million to actually connect everybody, so, or whatever the number
Yep.
is, so, you know, it's kind of a moot, right? Let's give them the right of way, because we sort of should, but it's not gonna help us. Anyway, it's just a point. It seems like you have enough people to leave it in there, so I'll be quiet.
Does somebody want to make a motion to approve?
So,
Okay, moved by trustee Micho, seconded by
second.
trustee O'Connor. Roll call, please.
Trustee Micho. Aye. Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Yeah, I don't know yet. Come back.
Trustee Chris Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Canucci.
Aye.
Okay, I'll say yes.
All right, motion carried. I appreciate it.
Good move, thank you.
Just my comment, as always, thank you, Ann. I appreciate your work.
Yep, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for the capital committee, the,
It's actually, like, the other thing behind the scenes, our auditor, our accountant,
yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
thoughtful and precise.
All right,
That's one.
I am not going to have a report. Trustee Borowski, do you have a report?
No, sir.
Trustee Chris Meyer?
Nope.
Trustee Micho? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll miss you.
We are gonna miss you. Someday, someday.
Endorse.
Trustee O'Connor?
No,
Trustee Tanucci?
No report.
Village manager's report.
Happy to be here. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, so,
He did have a report.
that's right.
So Wednesdays are now Grill Out Wednesdays.
oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Nobody died and no fire department was needed.
I decided to, buy a grill and, in the middle of the week, cook for staff.
Oh.
Well, it won't take very long anymore.
Well, actually, no fire extinguisher was needed, and, everybody reported to
Do we
work.
need to go to executive session?
Everybody reported to work the next day, so there was no,
So, I don't believe we have a need to go into executive session tonight,
Okay.
so if everyone's okay with that, I'd be looking for a motion.
No, I really want to stay here longer.
Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Micho, seconded by
Second.
trustee O'Connor, roll call, please.
Trustee Micho.
that was your last one?
Aye. Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Aye, have a good night, everybody.
Good night, Chris.
Hold on,
Aye. And Trustee Canucci.
Aye.
all right, meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Nice.
Jumbo.